Hey, what is up, everybody? Today we are taking a look at BooBooMan's clean as F Batocera version 40 build for PC, and this can be found over at Arcade Punks. It is an Arcade Punks exclusive, and it is free to download. You just need to search for it on Google. I can't leave a link for it for obvious reasons. Now, what this is a 1 terabyte build from BooBooMan, where he has put some of the best together in a 1 terabyte pre-made, ready to go out of the box arcade experience that's going to have a ton of your arcade games and most of your retro classics. And we're going to go through the build and just see how it looks, see the type of games it has. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is free for download, so the only thing you need is a hard drive to put it on. Now, what I'm using is an external solid state drive, and I'm booting directly for that because this is essentially a pre-made operating system, so it's going to run outside of Windows. And because of that, it tends to run better because all of your resources are going to be focused purely on this build. Now, for anyone building a custom build for this, you can install the hard drive on the inside, and you don't have to worry about going through the steps to boot an external hard drive. Now, in terms of the computer you're seeing this running on, it's nothing fancy. It's a Best Buy Christmas special computer that I spent probably $400 on. It's running an AMD Ryzen 7 5700U, I think it is, which is only running Vega 8 internal graphics. It doesn't have a fancy graphics card, but from everything that I've played on here, everything I've thrown at this laptop seems to play fine. So if you're somebody who's wanting to get like one of those little mini PC builds and slap this in, it should work perfectly fine, especially if you get something newer than what I have in this video. Now let's start off with arcade. It looks like we have right at 1,781 arcade games. So there is a good chunk of arcade games there. What else do we have? We have Capcom System 1, 29 games. Capcom System 2, 34 games. 3 is 6 games. You're going to have your Atari 2600, your Atari 5200, your Atari 7800, and it looks like you have a handful of games for each one of those. The Atari 2600, it looks like you have way more games at 572 versus, what is that, 97 for 5200, 66 or 7800. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how many games those consoles are supposed to have. They're not consoles that I really played that much. We've got 136 games on the Intellivision. The Triforce system, which I think was a Mario kind of arcade system that you found over in Europe and in some places in the United States, where there was like dual Mario Kart stuff. And yeah, that's exactly what we see in here is Mario Kart Arcade GP and then Arcade GP2. You got your TurboGrafx 16 with 300 games, TurboGrafx CD 47, your NES 842, Game Boy 602, Super Nintendo 730, which I think is a little low. I think there are a handful more of US Super Nintendo games, but more than likely he purged a lot of the games that just weren't great games. Your Nintendo 64, we've got 302 games. Game Boy Color, 535 games. GameCube, 50 games, which is a decent amount. Game Boy Advance, 858. Nintendo DS, 1,687 games. Your Wii, only 10 games for the Wii, so not a very large amount for the Wii. Nintendo 3DS, 30 games. Your Wii U, only 10 games. And it does have Nintendo Switch with 40 games, which we'll get to later, because the games that are on here play pretty damn well, even on this lower end budget laptop, which shows that he actually put the cache files that you need for those games in this build so that the games run smoothly. You've got a port section, which has just some settings for your Nintendo Switch, it looks like. Atomic Wave, 21 games, which is another arcade system. Master System, 281 games. Genesis, 785 games. Game Gear, 272. Sega CD, 165. Sega Model 2, 31 games. Sega Saturn, 82 games. Sega 32X, 33 games. Sega Model 3, 18 games. Dreamcast, 100 games. Naomi, 100 games. Naomi 2, 4 games. Neo Geo, 136. Neo Geo CD, 84, Neo Geo Pocket 30, PlayStation 1, 100 games, PlayStation 2, 48 games, which let's click in real quick just to see what they've got. And it looks like a pretty good sample size of PS2 games on here. We have graphics for everything, a little bit of story about everyone. This UI looks absolutely fantastic that he put together for this build. Let's back out. PlayStation Portable, 50 games, and then all games as a whole, 10,847. Now let's go through a few of these, starting with arcade, and I'm not going to go through every single one of them because there is way too much to go through, but I will go through some of the more popular stuff. Arcade is always super popular, and it looks like you're going to have most of everything on here that you know, all the way back from, 79, probably up to early 2000s. And it looks like BooBooMan did a good job getting graphics for pretty much everything that he put on here. Now, if you're using a controller that has left and right bumpers, you can quickly go through these lists way faster that way if you're looking for something very specific. So let's load something. Let's try Fatal Fury 2. All right, here we go. This was a Neo Geo SNK game, so let's see how it plays, which I am absolutely doo-doo at these Fatal Fury games because unfortunately I didn't play them much as a kid. All right, so I'm not getting any lag at all, which I don't expect to on a lot of these old MAME games. I mean, these games have been out so long that pretty much a potato at this point can play these games. All right, let's exit out of this. All right, let's keep scrolling through here. And again, arcade-wise, you're pretty much going to find everything, from 79 up to about 2000 on here is going to be in this build from when I was looking through it earlier. And so many of the games that are on here, I honestly have never seen before until going through this build, just because there's so much you could choose from in the arcade world. You got your Capcom system, and these are going to be your Capcom Play System 1 and all the games from those systems. Your Capcom Play System 2. And again, we can see we've got videos and images and information for each one of the titles that are on there. Capcom System 3 with JoJo's Bizarre and JoJo's Venture, some Street Fighter 3, Second Impact. Let's load into that real quick and see how that plays. Now, again, I absolutely suck at fighting games. It was not a genre that I was really big into playing. And from what I can tell, the speed is great. Not getting any slowdown whatsoever. Oh, he's kicking my ass. How do I do a Hadouken? Oh, there we go, a Hadouken. Gonna cheese it there a little bit in the end. All right, let's go back to our menu and keep going through these games. All right, Atari 2600. I'm not gonna go into many of these old school games like this. We'll go through the menus. And again, so far, like, everything seems super clean. I'm not seeing any doubles of anything, which you tend to see a lot in some of these pre-made builds where you end up with the Japanese versions, the American versions, the European versions, and there ends up being a lot of unnecessary space used for multiple versions of the exact same game. And when it's set up cleaner like this, you're just going to get more games on the system. In television, Triforce we went through, TurboGrafx 16. You're going to see a lot of the same games that you see on your MAME, TurboGrafx CD, NES. This is where you're going to get a lot of the classics that a lot of us, at least of my age, remember being able to play at home. Adventure Island, Bayou Billy, pretty much everything NES-wise. And, they start extremely fast. They're going to play well. Oh boy, I died. Heading back out. Game Boy. And again, even going through these retro game systems, I am not seeing doubles of these games, which is absolutely great. And I did a lot of testing of this system before I started doing this video. And while I have not loaded every single game that's on here, every game that I loaded seemed to have loaded just fine. I didn't have any games where I loaded and then they didn't play at all. Nintendo 64, you got some classics like 007. Let's see what else. Army Men, Banjo-Kazooie. Perfect Dark is on here, down towards the end. You got your Game Boy Color, which I'm glad he separated those. I've seen a lot of builds where your Game Boy games and your Game Boy Color games get grouped into the same category. And because they did put out some Game Boy Color games that were the color versions of regular, you start getting a lot of the same games showing up. And it's much cleaner when it is separated. Your GameCube, which I do want to load a GameCube game because, again, like I said earlier, this is a lower powered computer that I am running it on. And GameCube played exceptionally well on here. And F-Zero is always one of those games that, because it moves so fast, it's always a good game to test to see if you're going to get stutter or lag or anything like that. Now, one of the crazy things that I have absolutely noticed is that your graphics of your GameCube games look so much better, it seems, on your emulated devices than they do on the Wii or the GameCube, because I have a Wii hooked up in the other room, and when I'm playing this on the TV in there, like, I'm not getting near the crispness I do playing it when I do on the computer, even a computer running to the same exact TV. And a lot of that is just due to the oversampling that you can do with the emulators, which bring just a whole new life to these classic games. All right, I'm just going to go with the default settings with this guy. And oh, wrong button. All right, as you can see, there is no slowdown that I can detect while playing this game whatsoever. And this is a fast game, a very, very fast game. I remember when this F-Zero came out, it reminded me so much of Wipeout for the original PS1, if you guys remember that. Because when that came out, that was one of the fastest racing games at the time that had probably been out. And it absolutely looks like F-Zero borrowed a lot from the Wipeout series when making this game. All right, Game Boy Advance. We're going to have everything on there. Now, one of the other things I'm sure you've noticed as I've loaded games, BooBooMan put nice looking bezels on everything, and his default settings on most of this, because I left everything for auto, he has scan lines put on systems where the scan lines are needed just to make them look a little bit better, especially like your Game Boys, your Game Boy Advances, things like that. These bezels look absolutely great because it gives you some room to fill the screen while being able to keep your gameplay in a smaller window that's going to make your graphics look much better. Nintendo DS, we've got a ton of stuff. All right, we got your Wii. And the Wii games that I've loaded seem to play okay. The problem you're going to run into with Wii games is there were so many Wii games that required motion controls using the little Wii nunchuck controller. So it's going to always be hit or miss when you're trying to play Wii games on emulation, because the best ones that you're going to have are the ones that use your Pro controller. Alright, and you can see I am moving around here. I'm not really getting any slowdown. And that is going to be your list of Wii games. Again, it's not many. You know, it's just some of your more popular ones on there. Wii U, Nintendo Switch, which I wasn't expecting a whole lot when the Nintendo Switch popped up on here. There's a really, really good amount of games on here, and we're going to load Mario Kart 8. Because that's, again, this is a game that's going to load fairly quickly, and we can get an idea of how it plays. I have played through a few of these Switch games, and these have been fairly fine-tuned to where they play great. Being how low-powered this laptop is, I wasn't expecting much when I loaded the Switch, mainly because of some of the issues I was having with some of the other consoles, like the DS, having a hard time playing the music. I wasn't expecting this to actually play well. And then I was super surprised when I played it and found out that it played absolutely great. And we're just going to go through here and just start with all the basic settings, just so I can jump into it and show you guys what it looks like. All right, as you can see, graphically, like it looks amazing. It looks a lot better than it does actually on the Switch itself. It works better when you press the right buttons on the controller, unlike what I was doing. But the very first day that I installed this, I actually played this game for probably a good hour or so. All right, y'all get the idea. Master System, which was the Sega version of Nintendo, your Genesis, your Game Gear, Sega CD, Model 2, 32X, Sega Model 3, which was arcade, your Dreamcast, which has quite a few titles on here, And Dreamcast is a place that I have seen a lot of duplicates in the past on other systems, and it doesn't look like this one really has any duplicates. Naomi, Naomi 2, Neo Geo, Neo Geo CD, Neo Geo Pocket, PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, and then back to all game. My overall impressions with this build is it's one of the best ones that I've used in recent years. I've downloaded quite a few to play over time, and it seems like most of them aren't very complete, at least in the way that I want to use it. The title says it all. It's clean as fuck. Absolutely love the comic artwork style that's been put into this. Every game has artwork. Every game has videos from what I can see. 99% of everything I have clicked on is played perfectly fine. All in all, it's a build that I would recommend for anyone that wants to make a starter, like Pandora's Box, small PC gaming build. You can't really go wrong with the stuff that's on here. The bezels absolutely look amazing on this thing for any of the games that I've loaded. Whether it be Nintendo, Super Nintendo, arcade. The controls for most of this is pretty good. Now, each individual system, your controls are going to be a little bit different, so you may have to go in and, mess with your button mapping and whatnot. But it seems like anything Xbox controller-wise, PS4 controller-wise, anything like this guy right here works just fine with it. And this is a more of a Xbox-style controller. And for anyone interested in this controller, I'll put a link down in the comments section, because this is literally a $35 wireless controller that has about the same weight as an Xbox controller, but it also has some extra features like the Elite controllers do. And it's pretty nice for the price, and it works great on systems like this. So again, this was the BooBooMan clean as fuck Batocera version 40 build. This is a recent build that was released back in January. You can find it on Arcade Punks. Just search it on Google. Download it for free. Never pay for these things, because these guys put these together for free, and you should never see it being sold anywhere. If you do, don't buy it. You're getting ripped off. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.